Hi, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and part number 5 of the Meng 1/35 scale Jagdpanther G1 build. Alright, so last video, part number 4, I started with step 9 and worked up to step 13. So everything went fine. I did have a little bit of trouble with gluing this plate on right here. I think I might have misaligned something earlier on, I don't know, but it was easily fixed and I got it all tightened up and it looks just fine. Now I have on this side, I have a little bit of some little bit of gaps that I need to fill in, but I think I should be able to do that fairly easily. Then I started installing some of these fittings here, and let's see what else we got. Then step 13, there's actually 4 different ways to do it, and it depends on the version that you're doing, whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 as far as schemes. Mine is 1, so this is the one I did here. So that all went fine. So now we're up to step number 14. So let's see, these are the tool bins on the back and some other details. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out B36 and drill the holes in that for the tail light. So I got the holes drilled out, so now I need B4, not after. Ha ha ha! That's some good stuff right there. B4, B32. B32 and E1. And just like I say at the beginning of all my videos, I will be demonstrating cleaning up the first few parts, but then I won't after that, so as to save a little bit of time and grueling boredom. So basically just using my ultra groovy Tamiya cutters. Clean that off. Clean this light bracket off. I already got that. And then the E part is actually a clear part. And I think I'm going to glue that on near the very end so I can paint it properly and not have to worry about taping it off. So all I have to do is finish cleaning this up. Use my knife first. Like that. Hit it with the sander. Like that, and then this goes here. That. Once again, a good fit. Gesundheit, my sweet. That was my wife sneezing in the background. Got to maintain politeness. Let's let's see, and then this little bracket thingamajig goes here, and there's like a little projecting part right there that faces down on the toolbox. So let's see if I can get it in position there. Have to enlarge those holes just a little bit. A little bit more. Like that. Make sure it's pressed on there really good. A little bit of extra thin, thusly. All right, so that one's done. So I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. And then I need B17 and B19, which are, looks like some kind of little fender flappy things that go underneath here. 19 goes there. 17 goes there. Again, just using the cutters as close as possible. Snip them off like that. Like that. And then glue right there. That, and then glue the storage bins in place. Like that. All right, so that finishes step 14. So now it is step 15. All right, so I need two F8s. There's one on each F sprue. The difference between the F8 and the F9 is this one has a different kind of detail in the center here, and the spokes, or whatever you want to call them, the grids radiate out from that straight, as opposed to these, which are angled. So that's something to watch for because they look a lot alike. Cut those off. So here's something to watch for. I found these on a few places on this kit. These ejector pin marks, or whatever they are, they stick way out. They're really crazy. There's one there too. So those have to be dealt with for sure and cut off flush so they don't interfere with this part gluing down to the hull. So it's a matter of just cutting them off as close as possible and just making sure it's flat and either trimming it down or sanding it down one. So these fit flush, and then there's one right in the middle as well, which is kind of weird, but hey, that's what happens. All right, once those are all cleaned up, then they need to be installed just like that. For those, I think I'll use my thicker glue. Like that. And like that. All right, so next I need some A47s, and those are all these little lifting hooks that go on the engine deck. And they're quite tiny. But the nice thing is these are made out of styrene instead of photo etch. Some companies like to make these out of photo etch, and they're just a little too thin. And since they aren't styrene, you know, you gotta glue them with CA glue or Gator's grip or something crazy like that. And sometimes I just don't feel they grip as well. So let's see, and just remember they go with the hook facing out like that. So the hook faces away from that fan cover. Okay, so here you can see that I have two of the grills already in place. So let me show you how I did that. Couple things to look for. Let's do this one here, which is part X1. So what I do is I just cut it as close as I can to the part. Just a regular old X-Acto knife right on my cutting mat. Okay. Once I have that cut out, then I use this Tamiya bending pliers, and I put it really close to the edge like that so I can get rid of that burr. And what I'm using is just a small file. You can use a sanding stick, whatever, but and then I just gently, when you start taking it off, you can see where it was. And then just using my finger, just run my finger along the edge, and if there's any left, it'll catch in the grooves of your fingerprint. If you don't have fingerprints, then you probably have to try something else. So do the same thing on this side. There's 2 attachment points on this side, 1 on the other. And the reason I put it so close to the edge like that is I minimize the possibility of bending the part. If it was sticking too far out, and if this were to hang up on that little burr, you could bend the part, and then you're going to have a hard time getting it back in place, unless of course you want it to be bent. I've seen dioramas and stuff like that where people have made them bent, like from battle damage or whatever. So then the next thing is you need to look at the orientation of the part. Now on this part you can see there's like a longer part right here than here. That part goes towards the back because the back of it is a little bit longer, I guess, to help cover this gap right here, which is supposed to be there. That's on there on the real vehicles, so don't freak out. Then there are little tiny pins in the corners, fit in these little tiny holes. Now another thing to watch for on the part is there is a top and a bottom. The bottom, the mesh detail will be flush with this framework, so you want to make sure that that's facing down, because this framework is a little higher than this mesh. Like this framework was built and the mesh was attached from behind. Then just do a quick test fit, make sure it all fits in place, which it does already, you know, fits on this other side, so we're good to go here. So then, using my Gator's Grip acrylic hobby glue, which is quite thick, and a toothpick or cocktail stick, depending on where you are in the world, just put a little dab by each one of those pins. And if you get too much, you can wipe it off, but you can do that later as well, because since this is an acrylic, it'll wipe off with water, so you can use a wet Q-tip or a wet paintbrush or whatever to remove any excess. So we got that in place, and here's the nice thing that I like over super glue type stuff, CA glue, is you have time to work. You don't have to worry about your fingers sticking to it. You don't have to worry about it being in place crooked. Put it in place, press it down, and voila. And this glue is really strong, especially for flat stuff like this. It remains a little bit flexible, so you don't have to worry about anything popping off when it shouldn't. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do this one and the 2 round ones. Come back. All right, with all those glued in place, quite nicely I might add. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these little brackets on right here. So for this side I need B15, and I need 6 of them. So B15, which are these right here. All right, and then these glue, there's kind of a pointy end on it, which you can see right here. Then there's this angled part. So the angled part goes down, the pointy end goes like that. So I'm going to have to really watch and make sure I keep those perpendicular to this ridge here. Like that. So I'll continue on down the line here, gluing these in place. Like that. So after all these little brackets are glued in, then you need to do, I need to do the, I don't know what these are, some kind of mounting brackets or something. They're long strips, and you bend one edge. So just doing the same thing as before. Cutting them off. I'm actually going to use my PE scissors. Cut that burr off there. Then, using my bending pliers again, hold it, file it just like on those other pieces. Then there's like a little ridge. So that goes, I put that right there like that, right up against that ridge, and holding firmly, just gradually go up like this and bend it. Now there's actual PE bending tools, you know, with clamps and all that kind of stuff. I may get one someday, but to date I haven't really needed one, even for doing long stuff like this. This seems to work pretty well, and it's a fraction of the cost of those PE bending tools. So then I've got them all laid out here. These actually go on the sides here. Okay, so I screwed up on this last little segment. Basically, you cut these out. I use these bending pliers, put the piece in place along the little ridge, the little channel that's engraved in there, or whatever you want to call it, and then just bend it up 90 degrees. So now I got to glue them in place. And I was going to use CA glue, but you know, CA glue just for most things anymore just seems like a real hassle. All right, and here they are glued on. I decided not to video it because I was having to, you know, get over the model, and it was either out of frame or my noggin was in the way, so this is the way I did it. Now, for this, I used the Gator's Grip acrylic hobby glue. They all glued on there, lovely-ish. So that takes care of step number 15. So step 16 got to do some deck parts. So again, you have to choose which one you're doing, and in this case I'm doing one, so I will not be using one of the grab handles on that side of the engine cover. So let me cut those parts off. We got D1, A28, A37, and D29. So let's get those. Whoops. Okay, here's D1. I also need D29. A28 and A37. Yeah, depending on you got to drill some holes. Depending on which version you're doing. If you're doing version 3, that handle will be going on this side over here. But I am doing version 1, so I have to drill those holes out there. So let's see, you got that, and A37. Just right there. So let me get these cleaned up. Alright, so I gotta glue these parts on. I already got 37 and 29 glued into place. Now I'm gluing in A28. Like that. Okay, so we got that. So now I need to cut off 2 D8s, 2 D24s, and 2 D11s. So we got 2 D8s, 2 D11s, and 2 D24s. Wow, that one took off. All right, so the 2 D24s go on these armored cover things, whatever they are. I don't know all the proper nomenclature for this stuff. So let that one dry. And then this one here. So while that's drying, those handles, put these in place here. Like that. There's a little bit of wiggle room, so just make sure they're parallel and perpendicular to the edges of this hatch. Like that. Then we can take these now. I'm not sure what the direction is supposed to be on these, but the illustration shows them like this, so that's what I'm going to go with. Fill in those, the holes for those handles are a little bit larger than the diameter of the handle itself. So we got to make sure those are in place properly. Let's see, let's push that. So we glued that, whoops. Yeah, those handles are pretty delicate. Boy, that handle just does not want to stay up. There we go. Let's let that one dry a little bit. Alright, so for version 1, my version, I also need 2 A30s, which go on the engine deck. So I just need to, there they are. So we got 2 A30s. I'm also going to need A20 and A49. So I'll go ahead and cut those off so I can clean them all up at the same time. That, and I also need some B12s, but I'll get those in a minute. I'll do these first. All right, got this done, so let's go ahead and glue this in place. And I think I'm going to use this because I don't want it seeping up through the, or I don't want the edges to be all sealed up and non-hatchy looking. Which, don't know if that makes any sense, but you know, sometimes you just got to make up your own words. Like that. Perfect. All right, so next I need to glue on these right here. Do a quick little bit of sanding on the edges. These, I believe, are the mounts for the gun cleaning rod, canister, whatever you want to call it. And theoretically, and I can already see that I'm going to have to enlarge these holes. It's another funny word. Most of these are alright, but some of them are just a little bit undersized, and I'm sure it's not because of the recommendation by the by Meng, but by my incorrect sizing. Make sure those are vertical. I'm gonna go ahead and glue that one in case I decide to do something crazy like knock it off. Okay, that. Okay. And then this one. Goes there. There we go. Like that. Okay. So that takes care of the two A30s and the stuff on the back deck. So next, I'm going to get that piece of plastic out of there, like that. And then I need to glue this on here. And it goes there and there, I think. Yeah, that hole's gonna have to be drilled. I think I'm actually using a drill bit on that one though, because I don't want to make the hole shape like that. So let's see what we got. I think I used a number 66 on there. So I'll use this 65 to largify it. Yeah, it looks a little better. That one and that one. So let's try that. Okay, that still not good enough, so let's go with the next size. Alright, so that did it. That was my number 62 drill bit, whatever size that is. So anyway, we got it in place here, so now let's glue it up. Alright, we got that. Then B12, which is this little tiny piece, goes there. And again, I'm going to have to drill that hole larger. May not need to be as large as we go. So that fits right exactly on top of that tool rack. So that's kind of cool. Make sure this is glued down really good. Then I need B31, which is a spare track holder, which is this here. So that is all of that side. So now I need to do the same thing on the other side, but with the appropriate parts, of course. So let's see. Get cracking on that. As I get ready to install this tool hanger or whatever it is on this side, thing to make note of is this one is at an angle, so don't freak out if you're building one of these and you turn it around and it's like, what? But you don't really realize that until you look at the instructions later on, because it shows this side of the vehicle and shows the shows this hanger at an angle. Just make sure you put it in this pin in the lower hole, because that little hooky thing goes on top of that. So just something to take note of. Now, as far as the spare tracks go, I'm not going to put those on right now because I want to paint those separately. So I'm going to leave those off and go ahead, start cutting off these small parts here. 4 F23s, D9 and D10 for the engine deck, and then these other parts over here. Okay, so for the F23s, the same thing as those other hooks that I put in earlier. The open part of the hook faces away from the engine deck. Like that, and there's 4 of them. Okay, with those in place, now I can cut off A31, which is another tool hanger of some kind. And it is right here. And the sledgehammer goes there, so that's A27. I think I'll go ahead and A27 right there, because I can paint that in place. Pretty handy with the paintbrush when it's called upon. Okay, so that tool rack is on there, so now I just need to glue that there. And I must say, the little tool clasps, one of the things that many people complain about on these vehicles. At least the little latchety part is hollowed out, so that's kind of groovy. Okay, so then need to do this cable thing around this bracket here, which is A32. So let me get that because I need to measure how big that needs to be. So there's the hanger. So first thing I'll do is clean this up and then test fit it and make sure it fits in the holes like it should. I need to remove this little bit of flash here. So let's make sure that fits. Let's try it this way. Need to hollow those out a bit. Yeah, I'm going to have to drill those out a little bit. Alright, so it says the cable is supposed to be 160 millimeters long. So, getting out my handy dandy measuring device, I think instead of that I'm going to go with 16 centimeters. I think that would work better. You guys like that? Gotta make fun of improper measuring stuff whenever I can. All this metric stuff. It's crazy. So now, what I need to do is I need to find something that is the diameter. Well, what do you know? That is pretty close. So for safety, I'll take that off of there. Because what I want to do is I want to use something of cylindrical shape. To wind that cable around so it will be the right diameter to roll around this. So got a little piece of flash going on there still, so I need to get that off there. And there. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do something smaller than that. So it'll have some springy room to let me root around here and see what I've got. Alright, so I got the cable wound up. So now I just need to glue the hanger on here. that. Alright, so I got that on there. So I need to glue the axe, which is A19. And one of the C hooks, which is F36. On here. And that will finish up step 17. The axe goes here on this hanger, and this goes there. Like that. So that ends step 17. Alrighty then, so with that, I think I'm going to end this video right here. So I got steps 14 through 17. So next time when I come back, we'll be starting on 18 with more hull, external hull details. And yeah, still got a little ways to go. So anyway, that's it for now. End of part 5 of the Meng Jagdpanther G1. So, as always, thanks for watching, and if you have any hints, tips, comments, concerns, or just want to chat, drop them in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I will see you all later.